Hello and welcome to the Christmas episode of the Wayfarer podcast. We got the whole crew here today, starting with
Jonathan,
Katya,
Zach,
Riley.
Come on, and I am Jared Thomas. Welcome, everybody. We're pretty much right at Christmas, if not right before.
Merry
So
Christmas.
good.
Merry Christmas,
So
everybody.
good. Merry
Wow.
Christmas.
Happy New Year.
What is everybody? What are the holiday traditions? What are we getting into this Christmas? Anything fun?
I think it's fun that Florida actually had cold weather. Like
Yeah.
that was a thing that we literally touched the 30s and it was like pure joy.
Oh my
Mhm.
Got a tree
Like
from
my-
North Carolina.
My AC's been off for like 3 weeks now. I've had my
Nice.
windows open, and the hottest it's been is 71.
It's
And the coldest it's
incredible.
been is 61.
Wow.
freezing.
I got to put on my UGG boots
Yeah.
this week, which was great.
I think it was a state of emergency, right?
Yeah.
For the state of Florida.
I loved it. It made me really happy that I got to put them on.
Katya, what are you doing for Christmas?
I am going to be at home, but then my family and I are taking a little trip. We always do a yearly like family moment, and I'm really excited just because we're busy all throughout the year. So this week of Christmas will be kind of a breather for us. We'll get to decompress, not think about work so much, and, just be with each other. I'm very excited.
What's the trip?
We're going to Utah.
Utah.
There you go.
Salt
love
Lake
it.
City, baby. I'm pretty excited. I've never been.
snowboarding.
Please.
It's going to be great.
Yes. Are you making fun of me?
No.
Jared has this thing recently where all
You said snowboarding, not me.
Oh,
I love that Christmas is literally, there is one last bit of real estate where the whole world does slow down. Pretty much, right? There is at least like a little moment where it feels like the whole world gets really, really, really slow. It's great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are you doing?
I'm going to be back in Raleigh, hanging out with the whole Thomas clan, so it should be pretty fun. Watching Charlie Brown Christmas, The New Grinch, which, let me tell you, hot take, the best Grinch.
we
Whoa,
talked about
that's
this last
saying
episode,
something.
Jared.
Yeah, and I stand by it.
That's a big claim.
It's a huge
Yeah.
claim. I don't take that lightly, but it is phenomenal. Super well done.
Good. I love it. You did family Thanksgiving and you're back for Christmas.
Yeah, I didn't know there was an option not to go. Like my parents keep asking me, they're like, "Are you coming back for Christmas?" I go, "Well, where else am I going to go?"
can't be alone.
Like, am I allowed to not come? Like, I don't have to spend $400 on a flight? Just kidding, love you, fam. Happy to be back.
Never alone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
Fly
where,
on.
where are you going to be?
I think I'll just be here. I don't really have anything planned, so I'm sure some family will come over, and it should be pretty nice. Although after, on the 26th, I'm flying to Costa Rica to go on a dirt biking adventure up a mountain. So
Wow.
hopefully I'll survive, but
And come back down.
odds are
In one piece.
Up
not
a
in
mountain. Great.
pieces.
He's going up a mountain. Down is not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. Yeah, that's awesome. I've heard so many people say Costa Rica is awesome. I've never been. Have you been?
the food, I think, is the best part.
Mm-hmm.
Plantains,
This is
rice
true.
and beans, and beef.
Mm.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
That
If
has your
it
name written
suits
all
you.
over it. Yeah, I was just literally saying that. That
Very
is
good.
your trip. Like,
It's like the
dirt
perfect-
biking up a mountain.
Can't
I
go.
couldn't
Costa
see you
Rica.
doing anything else.
Wait, are you bringing your one wheel, or are you actually going to be on dirt bikes?
That's a good question.
one wheel.
Actually, I'll see what I can do.
It's like a new idea.
Off-road
This
that
is
sucker. I don't
great.
know.
It does do that.
Come on.
Riley, how about you? Where are you going to be?
I'll be at home. You remember me talking about Thanksgiving traditions with we always have Thanksgiving at my aunt's house, and then we watch Christmas movies after. Similar for Christmas, but instead we do Christmas Eve as like our big family night. And so we'll do Christmas Eve at my house, or my parents' house now. And we do a big white elephant gift exchange. That's always fun. And there's always just, it's white elephant. So it's like not like good gifts, like not gifts you would use, but just like funny, like ironic gifts. And so it's always funny when there's actually like a good gift, like a candle or something that smells really good. And that's like what everybody fights for. And so like, it's really hard to get out of the game. You have to roll a 6 on a dice. That's the only way they leave the game, or everybody's unwrapped their gift. And so that's probably my Christmas highlight. So we do that at my parents' house. And then we do Christmas morning at my aunt's house and do like Christmas brunch at like 11 o'clock. And
That's the way it should
Yeah,
be. Just
good
like an
time.
ongoing party and feast. I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I have a Christmas white elephant gift story. The coolest white elephant party I've ever participated was actually with Jared. It blew my mind. A flat screen TV was given, and no one knew what to do with it. It was like the strange, because usually it's like the things that nobody wants, and then so everybody's trading candles and soap and the typical white elephant thing, and then somebody had to bring a flat screen.
It was only like 30 inches or something. Like it was barely a TV.
It was like
It's
barely
still
a TV. Okay,
It's
I
a
still
remember.
32-inch smart TV.
Yeah, 32-inch TV.
Did you bring
man.
that?
It's like
Yeah.
My monitor
It's like
at home's
$4
bigger.
now.
What
remote
did-
control car.
Did
like,
you even come
I'm
to
not gonna
that?
drive my
Yeah,
remote
he got me
control
a
car.
ukulele.
Yeah.
and then I gave
And
it
I
away.
got
Got
it
a
back.
ukulele out of your car.
He did.
Yeah, but it was better than
And it
That's
was
so
from a
funny.
different. It was from
I
a prior
thought-
gift
Talking to me.
exchange.
I
A
thought
ukulele is not better than a 32-inch
all
smart
day.
TV.
I
Smart
thought it was
TV.
great. I thought it was very sweet.
Yeah.
Serious question about Christmas though: eggnog or no eggnog? I have to know.
Mm.
What's your take on eggnog?
I'm a no nog guy.
Yeah,
Really? Not a thing.
personally,
Not
no
bad.
eggnog as well.
Just never. It's all right. I'll do a hot apple cider.
Okay,
Me
that's
too,
good. Yep,
Riley.
there you go.
I think
Good
we would
course.
have a
That's not a
great
hot
time at a
take.
Christmas party together because I'm on the same wavelength.
You
There you
can't
go.
have a great time with people at Christmas parties if we're not drinking the same drink as you.
We would
Yes.
just not be able to
Cannot.
partake.
Get on our level.
If they're
That's right.
serving eggnog, we can't partake.
I can't
not
get
the
on
same
board with
thing.
eggnog people.
That's right.
Nope.
I'm not invited to y'all's corner.
Nope.
Do you like eggnog?
I'm a
It's a
big
thing.
eggnog guy.
It's
Throw a
great.
little whiskey in there. It's
like
great.
magic.
Whoa.
Even
No,
without the
we gotta
whiskey.
censor
it's
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bleep that out.
There you go. People.
Sorry, we're 18 to 30, not
Yeah,
21
that's
to
right.
30. My
That's
bad.
right.
If you're
Only
19,
if.
ask
This is
your
intended
parents.
for adults.
Disclaimer,
21
yeah.
and up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Speaking of white elephant, my family does Secret Santa, which is fun.
Ooh.
And I like it because it like limits. You only have to really get one gift for people every year. So I can't say who my Secret Santa is because
They watch.
It'll come out.
That's kind of
Probably.
fun.
On
So you
Christmas.
like very thoughtful,
You can
very
say that.
intentional, choose a gift. That's cool.
which is nice because it's like I don't have to spread my gift money out over like 12 people. It's like one really good gift, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. We're doing the same thing this year, except we spun a wheel with names on, with all of our family's names on it. It's a little bit more fun. We like anytime we can't figure out what to eat for dinner or like what to watch for a movie, we'll put everything on a wheel and then we'll spin it.
You don't have a
And
wheel?
that's
That's
what we
cool.
decide.
Why are you saying it's more fun than what I do? You don't even know how
There's
I
no
you don't-
wheel involved.
You don't know how I
For,
do the
for
selection.
us, it's more fun.
More fun than what?
More fun than just drawing it out of a hat like most people.
You don't know
We
how
use
I
the
How do
app.
you do it?
Like
Draw
you,
names.
Jared.
You
Dot.
don't know
How do you
I
do it? Share it. Do you draw it out of
We
a hat?
use an Elfster to do the names, which is pretty much a wheel.
Maybe it's just common.
It's
in
pretty
different-
much the same thing.
It's a wheel that you spin.
No, it's Elfster.
What is elf?
Oh, is that the website that you like?
It's a website.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can put like wish list items on it.
You
Yeah.
get an email. It's really fun.
That's great.
Not as fun as the wheel.
We're sponsored by.
You've never done it, so you don't know.
Elfster.
Yeah.
Thank
Sponsored
you,
by
Elfster.
Thank you.
If you
Elfster.
go to Elfster and use Wayfarer, you'll get. I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored.
Can I ask another question?
Thanks for the input, guys.
I got to ask you another question. Favorite moment of Christmas Eve? Mine is for sure like an 11 o'clock Christmas Eve service because the whole world is stopped and quiet. And it's just like my favorite moment of the whole thing. And I think within that moment, the singing of Silent Night. Did you all do that growing up as kids? Like go somewhere, even with just family, and sing Silent Night? Yes? Everybody
Yeah,
did?
absolutely.
Hold the
Providence always would do that, and the lead pastor would go up there with a guitar, and like he would be doing it and singing. And he wasn't like
So
the best singer, but could carry a tune well enough. And it was always such a special moment. The pastor now does not do that. And we don't. We used to. So this is really big, actually. We used to like have honey buns and apple ciders handed out during the service, and
Oh,
the,
wow.
like the middle school and high schoolers would do it. And so I used to be a part of that. It was super fun. We go back now, and the new pastor, no honey buns, no ciders. Like you get it after,
Wow.
and he doesn't even play the guitar. I mean, listen, he's a good guy,
Is
really
this-
good preacher,
Is he
but
really? I mean,
This is verbal
It frustrates
No
me.
feedback.
honey buns.
this will never get to. Although my mom listens, mom, do
She
not
said-
tell him.
yeah.
But
Brokenhearted.
I'm
Close to your
I'm
mom.
furious every year about it.
I read the most wonderful story, a book about the moment there was a truce in the singing of Silent Night, and troops on both sides are singing this in a world war. I mean, and you think about the whole world getting quiet and in the midst of conflict, And I was thinking about that's true even like on a personal level. Like sometimes Christmas is not what we hoped it would be. You think about even Home Alone, right? We just watched during Thanksgiving break Home Alone, and Macaulay Culkin runs into the church and hides out, and there's the South Bend shovel slayers out there, and he's like in church in that moment and finds himself kind of in a broken place with his relationship, and yet Christmas Eve like stitched him together in this really sweet moment. So I think Christmas is good for all this because it's not always good.
And on Christmas Day of the World War, they played soccer together. Did you know that? And that they had to go back fighting each other the next day, but that day they took it apart to celebrate, sing Silent Night, and then play soccer together.
Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
It's crazy.
That'd be
I know.
wild.
What's possible? Wouldn't it be
That'd
crazy?
just be crazy. Like imagine like shooting each other one day. The next day, you guys are singing and playing soccer together.
I think it just
That's just
shows
crazy. I
the
mean-
absurdity of war. Like you think about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and how incredible it would be if the report went out, or in the Middle East, the report went out that conflict stopped and that both sides were singing, not just singing, but singing with each other. And then the next day playing together. Talk about signals of transcendence, music and beauty and play. You go, something
Yeah.
other.
Need a stronger spell,
Let's go.
strong enough.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, holidays aren't always all happy though. Not all hot chocolate and eggnog. I feel like it can be really tough in the holidays sometimes. Especially it's like you want it to always be merry and bright, but it can be tough. I feel like we've all probably had the holidays where it feels a little heavier. You might feel a little lonelier, even amongst a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes we forget that loss or trauma or struggle can happen earlier in the year. Something that took place in March or February or July that was really tough to endure. And then you get back to these moments where there's expectations and normal things and nostalgic things that you normally would experience, and they're not there, or they're different. Even a brokenhearted, like a relationship that was true in July and isn't, for some reason, the holidays kind of can punctuate that loneliness. I don't know if you've ever felt that, like lonely on a holiday.
yeah, no, 100% I felt that. Especially, I think it is such an interesting time of reflection where you go back and you're really, especially like with New Year around the corner and New Year's resolutions, like you're oftentimes like really auditing, thinking about your life and your year. And I think that's where so many things that can happen throughout the year catch up to you, and you start to have to like process and maybe deal with in the holiday amongst family, which can be fun and peaceful or can be kind of chaotic at times. So
Yeah. No, completely. I think it can like the holidays, what you're saying, can emphasize like what some people don't have, like especially with like media and like friends. I mean, new relationships budding. I know we're all single and young and ready to mingle, except for Jonathan and Zach. And it's like, I think that can definitely like tug at the heartstrings when you're watching like the cute pictures of like in front of the Christmas tree, or like, oh, I went home to meet the family sort of situation. Like, I think those moments can be like, dang, like, why can't I have that during this Christmas holiday season?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
I remember what Jared was saying too, tied together with that, like being together with family and celebrating, and everybody's having a good time. And you are too, it's commingled. There's both parts of that, but then everybody kind of goes, it's like time to wrap it, before it turns to Christmas morning, and everybody goes their own way. And I remember that feeling of going to my room in my parents' house, like coming back to that childhood home and going through whatever it is you're going through, and it's not childhood anymore. Like you've grown up and you've faced things, and there's brokenness, and just going to bed and feeling like alone, asking big questions, feeling very distant from the childhood joy and the wonder side of it. It's a very real thing, and punctuated by being around family. There's a ton of expectations, and how are you? What are you, all of that can be going on. So if that's you, I think part of this conversation, we were talking about Christmas, and we were like, man, at the center, right? We're not alone. And that's a big deal.
Our Christmases have gotten a lot smaller than they used to be. Like some of my family moved away, and my grandparents passed away, and there's definitely a void there. What used to be a big family event is is now kind of just my family, which, you know, it's good, but definitely, like you were saying, because it used to be such this big event that I would be excited for just weeks leading up to it to get my presents. And now, like, I miss my grandma. She loved Christmas and would make such a big deal out of it, and always read. She would read the King John's Christmas poem, and it was very animated, and it was a very sweet time. So definitely makes me miss those, and I need some nieces and nephews to start growing
Yeah.
up, getting the numbers back up.
Yeah, likewise. I feel I relate to like the holidays for me, like even just this past Thanksgiving. I noticed this last year, but now that like all of us kids that are in the family are all growing up. I mean, I think my youngest cousin is in college now, so that's the youngest kid in our family. Nobody's had babies yet, and so holidays have started to shift to, not like in a bad way, but they've gotten more kind of just calm, and they end a little quicker. They don't last as long. We used to play games all the time. There's not as many games that happen, and so I feel that kind of shift of like we've all adulted, and we don't have that childlikeness as much anymore in our family, which I feel like we should add back in. And so my uncle does a good job on Christmas. He always brings a fun game, like one of those like trendy games you'll see on TikTok with like a $20 bill under a cup, but you gotta like flip it or something or guess something. And so he's done a good job at bringing that kind of fun childlikeness back. But I could definitely relate like to the holidays changing as the family gets older and moves away a little.
Yeah.
When y'all are going through holidays and you feel the feelings, like I definitely like can feel, sad or mixed emotions. Like how do y'all kind of process, or what do you guys how do you guys work through that? Like if you're feeling it one day, to like process it and try to, acknowledge and allow yourself to feel those feelings without, also letting it ruin Christmas dinner.
I feel like I just like immediately start praying. I'm like, please, like, why am I feeling this feeling? Like, can you bring me some clarity here? And I mean, God has a funny way of really answering my prayers. I wouldn't say quickly, but it's like eventually. And then in that understanding, I think I'm grateful for those moments, because it shows that there's this longing for whatever it is that I need to move forward. I think the holidays, while it can be hard, that feeling of like there's something not right here, it's showing that like you're still growing. And I think that's what I try to remember as I'm like praying. I'm like, I know that this is an uncomfortable feeling, but within this anxiety, like God's really trying to show me something. Like I'm supposed to be searching for something here in this anxiety. And I know it sounds weird, but I genuinely do that.
Yeah.
So that's how I walk through it.
That's good. For me, like I think of specifically a few years ago, working in church on Christmas I had a specific year that was just really tough. I was just working a lot, and I really just like lost sight of like the joy of what Christmas is. I mean, like Christmas is supposed to be joyful. I mean, like it's the night that our Savior was born, and we celebrate that. Like that's the significance of Christmas and gift giving and Jesus, God sending Jesus down as a gift. And so, I lost sight of that really just from like trying to make everything as perfect as I could for, everyone going to church on Christmas. And, I just found myself so just like lost. And I was like, I've forgot what Christmas all was about. And now, like in retrospect, being past that a few years, like looking back at that, it's like, you can't lose sight of that joy like that. I mean, like, even if you feel like you're going through something hard, it's like, that's the moment to remember, like that Jesus is born, like he's here and he ends up saving us. He dies on the cross for us. And it's like finding that joy, and then finding the joy in being with family and giving gifts, like you finding a way to be present in those moments and not lose sight of that through whatever you're going through is so key. And it's tough. I was there, like I lost sight of it and didn't have a good Christmas, and I was just exhausted and burnt out and totally forgot about the meaning of Christmas.
Yeah.
That's why they call it Christmas presents.
That was good,
Wow.
Jonathan.
And scene.
Well, I was
Yeah.
just gonna jump on that. Like, I feel like, I mean, that's what the Advent season is about. Like, it's the whole waiting and like learning how to find the joy in the waiting. And that's where, like, I feel like this season, I'm recently getting really into knowing like what it means Advent. Like, you know, I feel like as Christians, like we all know Lent, like the whole 40 days thing, but like Advent is about the joy of the coming of Christ. And so what you're saying is I feel like we get so lost in like the Christmas presents and like how much we're spending and oh my gosh, are they going to like it and blah, 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 and I'm single. But then like the real meaning of it is like the waiting and finding that everyday present joy and making the most of it. And so to avoid, I feel like this season, although in the past I definitely have had moments of like, oh, I'm so sad in my life, whatever. This season, I'm trying to be very aware of like my everyday choices of like, how am I finding joy in the waiting?
I think that's that we always talk about that commingled reality in a practice of saying first, like, yes, reality is commingled. There's good, there's broken, there's future. That's always true in all ways. And so if that's true, the reality is that we can celebrate the good and to make it a practice to start there, even in a broken moment where you are feeling those feels. If you can say, you know what? Yes, I don't have to say no to that, but I'm going to start with celebrating the good because there's some good, right? And we can find that good. So celebrate the good and then acknowledge the broken. Like, be honest about it and be like, yep, I don't have to be afraid of that or say no to that or cover it up or conceal it or make it all perfect and say, well, it has to be good. You can have a broken Christmas. You can have a dark season and say there was good there and there was broken there. And then there's that light of the promise that says, yeah, and that's not the final word. Light entered the darkness. And that's the central theme of this moment. So I can still have hope, right? And it's good. I love that you brought up Advent because like the traditions and just what you all are saying that we can lose that from generation to generation. It's getting smaller. And as we age, especially if you're in this conversation, 20s to 30s, you start looking around and you're like, well, whose job is it to remember what this season is about? Who will be the people who steward the meaningful center back to the forefront of our conversations? And we look around, we're like, well, grandma's not doing that anymore. And mom and dad maybe have been doing that for 40 years or 30 years. And I think it's a super cool invitation to hear you talk about Advent and say, maybe it's like, if not me, then who? Like, maybe that's part of what we're recovering as wayfarers to say, hey, the journey is meaningful. And as Frederick Buechner says, there's times where you can bend the river. If time's like a river flowing, you can bend it. And Advent is one of those seasons where you can bend time and slow it down. And so I just encourage you all, like, this is such a good conversation. And if you're a part of this and watching, like maybe there's traditions that it's time to bring back something that you did do, the silent night singing, and that's gone away, or reading Luke's gospel on Christmas Eve, and grandpa used to do that or grandma used to do that and they're not around anymore. Well, maybe you do that and steward that, and just little by little. And I don't know, tonight, that's what we talked about is a tradition, like coming back to that place where these traditions and these meaningful things can make these moments really rich and really beautiful, especially when we share them together. So we thought we would do that tonight and share something that could maybe become a tradition for you. You know, Christmas Eve, Silent Night, 11 o'clock services, the reading of the Gospels, that all takes place like in that really sacred moment of Christmas. So a few days earlier, we thought, well, what could we do that could be a tradition to kind of enter into the Advent season and really make the turn to the meaning and the central grand miracle of Christmas? And we thought, what a better way to do it than like almost a living Christmas card. C.S. Lewis has a writing about miracles, and he talks about the grandest miracle, the incarnation, that God would come in and take on flesh, and the story of Emmanuel, God with us. And he does, I think, like Lewis, just this beautiful job of taking that central message of the incarnation, which is really a miracle and a mystery, and putting it in a way that makes it really come alive, especially for this season. So we thought, as a Christmas card to all of you, that we would just read this section from Miracles, the grandest miracle from C.S. Lewis.
The central miracle asserted by Christians is the incarnation. They say that God became man. Every other miracle prepares for this, or exhibits this, or results from this. In the Christian story, God descends to reascend. He comes down from the heights of absolute being into time and space, down into humanity, down to the very roots and seabed of the nature he has created.
But he goes down to come up again and bring the ruined world with him. One has a picture of a strong man stooping lower and lower to get himself underneath some great complicated burden. He must stoop in order to lift. He must also disappear under the load before he incredibly straightens his back and marches off with the whole mass swaying on his shoulders.
Or one may think of a diver, first reducing himself to nakedness, then glancing in midair, then gone with a splash, vanished, rushing down through green and warm water into black and cold water, down through increasing pressure into the death-like region of ooze and slime and old decay, and then up again, back to color and light, his lungs almost bursting, till suddenly he breaks surface again, holding in his hands the dripping, precious thing that he went down to recover. He and it are both colored now that they have come up into the light. Down below, where it lay colorless in the dark, he lost his color too.
In this descent and reascent, everyone will recognize a familiar pattern, a thing written all over the world. It is the pattern of all vegetable life. It must belittle itself into something hard, small, and death-like. It must fall into the ground. Thence the new life reascends. So it is also in our moral and emotional life. The first innocent and spontaneous desires have to submit to the death-like process of control or total denial. But from that, there is a reascent to fully formed character in which the strength of original material all operates, but in a new way. Death and rebirth go down to go up. It is a key principle. Through this bottleneck, this belittlement, the high road nearly always lies.
The doctrine of the incarnation, if accepted, puts this principle even more emphatically at the center. The pattern is there in nature because it was first there in God. All the instances of it which I have mentioned turn out to be but transpositions of the divine theme into a minor key. I am not now referring simply to the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ. The total pattern, of which they are the only turning point, is the real death and rebirth. For certainly no seed ever fell from so fair a tree into so dark and cold a soil as would furnish more than a faint analogy to this huge descent and reascension in which God dredged the salt and oozy bottom of creation.
The central miracle asserted by Christians is the incarnation. He comes down to rise up again. And what a beautiful gift, Emmanuel, God with us. That's the celebration that we find ourselves in. No matter if it's a really bright season or a really tough season, or you're waiting for something to come just around the corner, you're not alone. Like the beautiful promise of the incarnation is God with us, Emmanuel. So Merry Christmas from us to you. We just want to say it. So from all of us, we want to wish you a
Merry Christmas.
There you
Never
go.
alone.
Merry Christmas.
Walk on.
Walk on. Cheers.